There are many devices for enlightenment. Religions give us many different options to subscribe to, belief systems, and methods and techniques to become more attuned with the self, become more attuned with the inner presence that exists within all. And each device is designed or used and has a utility. Each device has a utility for us to become aware of the peace that is always present within us, that is always accessible, that is always capable of being touched and being connected to. And this peace is what is referred to as enlightenment. And this enlightenment is something that gives us a sense of spontaneity, of something wonder, of amazement, of newness, of possibility, of transcendence from repetition. See, the repetition is the problem. Repetition is man's struggle. Because if a human struggles, it is because they're repeating the same thing that is occurring now. They are in fear that what is experienced now, whatever it is going to be repeated. And within this dynamic, within this paradox, that you are going to experience what you're experiencing now for the future, in the future, and continuously experience what you are, which is suffering, then that is going to prevent a new insight. It's going to make it very difficult to bring your awareness to a greater perspective and a greater acknowledgement that a miracle can happen and something can happen, and I can do something for myself that will get me out of this suffering. And I want to distinguish the suffering into two main differing points. The first point is the suffering of the rich man. So in the West, we have a very rich culture, a very prosperous and rich trade, markets, and everything is so abundant with products and money, and the list goes on. So within this society, man is the man's problem. Man's problem within the rich society is boredom. Man's problem within the West is boredom. He has experienced all the pleasures that there is to experience. So the boredom is consumed or transformed by new experiences that they pursue, right? And the pursuing of the desires and the pursuing of new experiences ultimately comes to an end at some age, where the rich culture, where the people that are living inside of the rich culture meet a wall, they meet a block, they meet a end point, or a point where they no longer really enjoy the rich pleasures that they have experienced their whole lives. They no longer actually get joy from experiencing good food, or a good drink with friends, or a good conversation. They no longer experience like these experiences that rich people get to have. So when that happens, boredom sets in, and boredom is the suffering and is repetitious, right? And we're always trying to escape in the West, right? In the Western world, the United States, all I can speak from experience, we try to escape that boredom through, drinking, drugs, alcohol. You can see it in teenagers, like that's all they're doing really. It's just they're really bored, and they're going out and trying these experiences and these substances, and we're even doing it until our old age, right? So, and it goes beyond that. It goes into vacations and all this stuff, right? Because they want to keep things interesting. There's nothing right, wrong, good, or bad about this. I'm just analyzing this from a non-dual standpoint. Okay, so when boredom has taken over, and when the rich culture, the rich person fears boredom because it is unpleasant. It is unpleasant to not enjoy the things that were previously enjoyed. It is a detriment to their well-being because they're not ultimately, grateful, or they're not ultimately seeing the perspective that they are rich and that they are abundant and they have plenty and they have enough, right? So they're afraid of this boredom, and the method that of peace for a rich culture, for a culture that is painfully bored and painfully disillusioned in their own abundance. They don't even recognize what they have. In that instance, the method that is most effective for them to become peaceful with themselves and enlightened is non-duality, is saying, that there is no right or wrong, that there is no good or bad. It's all just neutral, and you can determine and put the meaning on it yourself, and you have the power within you to actually change what you determine and what you're feeling, and actually become more grateful about the things you have, right? And in order to drive or motivate or move these rich people that experience wealth and plenty and abundance, they're not struggling to put food in their mouths and have shelter. In those instances, it is most effective for those people to become known that they are at peace with themselves, and it's just a choice for them. And if you tell them that they have many lives, if you tell them that they have continuous, repetitive, life after life after life, kind of like Groundhog's Day, right? Where this movie where this businessman keeps repeating the same day over and over again, and he becomes, mad because he's just so over it. He's just so sick of the monotony. And when this happens, to drive a man or to motivate him to become at one with who he is, which is not the person, to become enlightened and to become at peace and not identified with that identity or that ego or that persona that is going about his everyday life and just putting food on a table and like making sure that all the bills are paid and all the car payments and the electricity bills are paid. So to go beyond that for him, it must be inspired in him that there is many more lives, that there are ultimately more lives to experience and more lives to incarnate in, and that experience is going to allow for him to try something new, because he is so mad and so frustrated that like he cannot get joy out of his wealth that he's worked so hard for, right? And he's just bored just going to work every day, going to hang out with the same friends and like even the family, right? They're upset that they're essentially not grateful. That's what it comes down to. But they're upset that nothing new is happening, that they don't think they have power within them to transform themselves. So they look for it through religion, and they look through it through philosophy. And this philosophy that works best for the rich man, which is the idea that there are many lives, that there are past life, future lives, reincarnation, and that there's going to be many. This helps the rich culture become known or acknowledging of the concept that there will be more. There will be new experiences that are not of this. And that gives him a sense of peace. And, that could be just enough for him to believe something new. And that is a device. That is a device that has cracked open the wall that they see. For if I tell the rich man that there's a open sky, that there's a blue, beautiful open sky, and there's flowers, and there's the morning sun, and everything is crisp and elegant, and the air is fresh, and it's just pure bliss. If I tell him, if I tell the bored person that is riddled and struggling with boredom, if I tell him that, he will think I am mad, because he does not see the sky. He does not see the morning sun. He does not see the flowers. And all he sees is wall after wall after wall after wall. So in order for me to help him see the flowers that exist outside of the walls, that he is only perceptive of, that he can only perceive, in order for me to do anything about that, I don't talk about anything being true or being false. I do not talk in terms of what is real and what is unreal, because that's what science wants to do, right? They want to tell you what is real and what isn't real. And I don't talk about that in that terms. What I do is I instead go inside of your wall, your perceived reality of this encaged wall and this encaged building that you are in, and I tell you that there's a fire and that I must run out. So I run out, and through instinct, you will run out with me, and then you will see the flowers. Then you will see the beautiful sky and the morning sun and experience that fresh air. And what I told you about the fire was neither true nor false. It was only a device for you to step outside and see another reality, another perspective. And when you step outside of that enclosed vision that is rigid and boring and so very bleak, right? It's meaningless, it's hopeless. When I help you step out of there by telling you that there's a fire and there's something of immediate urgency, then you will be motivated to come outside with me, and then you will see that there is a beautiful perspective and a reality outside of that perspective that you are currently in. And only then will you be able to forgive me for telling you that there was a fire. Only then will you be able to understand what it is I was doing and what it is I was talking about when there was a fire, because it served as a utility, as a purpose, as a device, and it was neither true nor false. And this is the method of religions. This is the method of various belief systems, because it does not matter what it is you believe specifically, because they ultimately, nothing is right or wrong. They are perspectives, and they are, just because you don't see the same morning sky and the clear blue sky out there with the flowers, just because you don't see that doesn't mean that it isn't real for me. So that is the first method of enlightenment, and that is the first method of that is the first method of peace, inner peace, and that has worked for rich people, for a rich culture. The method that works for a poor culture, if you tell them that there are many lives and that there is going to be continuous, because what their suffering is poverty, their suffering is continuous, like they're always thinking of the future. They're never bored. The poor people are never bored. They're always thinking of the future. They're always thinking of fulfilling some fantasy, some dream, and some inspiration, some kind of vision. They're always trying to fulfill that. Poor people. So if we tell a poor person that same story of having many lives, and that each life is going to give you like a new opportunity, or maybe even give you hope to that in the next life you will attain peace, or you will attain wealth, or you will attain pleasurable circumstances, and pleasurable house or pleasurable family, or pleasurable body, right? If you tell them that, that will only frustrate them more, because what they're doing is constantly already thinking of the future. And see, I want to point out here that the poor-minded and the rich-minded are not based on circumstances. Their psychology is based rather on belief systems, and their beliefs are ultimately, one is rooted, they're both rooted in lack. They are both rooted in that there's not enough, or there's a negative belief. There's like belief that there is not something. So in both circumstances, different beliefs that the rich cannot have peace with what he has now, and the poor cannot have peace with what he has now. So ultimately, they do come to the same premise, but their reality and their attitude is different. Their experiences are fundamentally different, because one has it all figured out, right? One has all the money, all the bills, all the job, everything all sorted out, right? Everything's known, everything is like predictable, everything is routine. And the poor person, they don't have everything figured out, so to speak. They have ideas, and they have all these desires, and all these, like, inspirational dreams and motivations, and they are motivated much differently. They have to be moved or inspired in a different way, and that's why past lives and future lives and the whole new age movement isn't working for them, isn't working for the poor, because you can't tell them that suffering is going to end in the future. They want it to happen now. They don't want to be inspired that, they want results. They don't know, or have not experienced enough of the pleasures, so to speak, of, worldly things, of worldly desires. So you cannot tell them that they will experience that in the future, because that will just frustrate them, and that they'll be upset about how, they have to go on living this life of suffering and poverty, and with the expense that, like, others get to, right? All the rich people do. And it just won't go well with them. It won't be good for them, right? It won't be a pleasurable thing to tell them that, because what they want now more than anything is, like, the things that they know. The things that they know are available, but they don't have, because the rich man already knows of all the good food, all the good house, and the sex, and the relationship, and the, just the pleasurable things that you want as a, like, creature, as a human being, like, as a person. You want to be safe and secure, and, like, know comfort, right? And the poor person, the poor culture does not know that. They don't know security. So you cannot promise them security in the future, and they take it very well, because what they want more than anything is security now. So telling them that there is only one life, right? Telling them that there is only one chance. There's only one chance to transform, because this is all rooting back to transformation. All belief systems are transformative. When you adopt a new one, they will transform your whole situation, your whole circumstances, your whole attitude, your whole reality. So what a poor person would say to someone that is, telling them that they will experience wealth and pleasure and, and a beautiful house, a beautiful body, a beautiful family in the future lifetime. If you tell them that, they'll be frustrated. They'll be really upset because they want it now. They want results. They want immediate gratification, so to speak, of God's love, right? Of like the love that we can experience, of the abundance, of the pleasure, of the joy, of the bliss. They want that now. So in order for you to do that, in order for you to tell them, in order for them to become peaceful and enlightened, is to tell them that this is the only life. This is the only way. It's the only this life is the only one you have, and you must do everything you can to become peaceful and become, comfortable and become at peace, right? And that in history, that has motivated the Protestants and the Catholics, which were, pretty poor in the middle dark ages and stuff. They were all suffering, and that motivated them to work harder and do the things that they did to build a better society, right? A more sophisticated kind of like rich trade, and that motivated them to improve their life. And that's kind of the belief system of Christianity, is like there's only one life, there's no reincarnation. But when Buddhism and Hindu and the main Eastern religions came together, came about in Eastern culture, those cultures were very rich. Now it's the other way around. Now the Western culture is very rich and the Eastern is pretty poor. So that's why we're seeing a shifting and a trading of intelligence, of belief systems, is because now one does not suit the other. And now things are getting complex. Things are becoming, I won't talk on that right now. I'll talk on that other videos. But anyway, we want to think that we can feel peace now, and there's different devices for different minds for that. There's different devices for people to feel peaceful, and it must be approached in this kind of way, that understanding that you either have a rich or poor heritage and past, and you don't want to be told things that go against that experience, and kind of invalidate that experience that you've had before. Even though that you may have been rich and now you're poor, or maybe you're poor and now you're rich, you probably still have the same belief system, if not for the most part, then partially. And that should be approached in a different way. People seeking peace, people seeking, yoga and meditation. The device that does not work for you is not the device for you. you must seek a new device. And that is why seekers go on seeking for so long, is because they don't actually find a device, and like they postpone their enlightenment, and they use gradual methods. These seekers and these self-proclaimed spiritual people use gradual methods because they want to attain enlightenment in the future. They want to attain peace in the future. And this future is the future never comes. The future that they're trying to attain, the gradual process is only taking the burden off of the the gradual method is only taking the sting and the blinding light, the pain from the blinding light of enlightenment away gradually, because when you immediately feel it, it is so bright, so powerful, so transformative that all you know and all you have known is going to fall away and die, and all your personality, all your beliefs and thoughts and stories about your past are just going to be completely vanish. And if you are truly enlightened, then you will forget everything. If you are truly at peace, you will forgive and forget. So the device that we use, whether it be gradual or whether it be instantaneous, that is a device that we believe is going to work. And the more belief that you have in something, the more truth it will be for you. The more true it will be.